So last we left off, we had established several filters that reduced the number of tables available from about 60,000 down to about 6. We then decided that because the American Community Survey is designed, and really that's their purpose, to house and disseminate demographic information, that we would use the ACS table. So by selecting that, we come up with the table. This is the table, and what we're seeing is a result of demographic categories that are broken up by state. So we see that we have Alabama, we have Alaska, Arizona, etc. And we could continue to go on down this table, and we get every state plus Washington, D.C., plus Puerto Rico. And if you happen to select the second item down, you would get the island protectorates as well. Now, what is very important to understand is this table is a compilation of data samples, right? So when we look at Alabama as an example, just Alabama, we're going to recognize that the total population is estimated for Alabama to be 4,830,620. Oh, excuse me, 4,830,620. And that would be for the state of Alabama in the year 2015. Right? Just remember that when you're doing your market research, you have to understand which year you're talking about, especially if you start doing trends over time. You're going to want to kind of mark that one specific point in time. If we look at the number of males, for example, we're going to see that approximately 2.3 million of that estimated population are male, and 2.4, 2.5 million are female. They believe they're accurate within about 1,000, plus or minus 1,000. Statistical accuracy is very, very critical here, because when you think about a distribution, right, a normal distribution, there's an end value where when you hit 30, that you are in the normal distribution category. That's a very simplified view, but if we look at it that way, our sample size is actually around 4.8 million, right? It's not 30. So we would expect our alpha to be extremely small, and in fact, we see that it is 0.1%. So they are accurate within 0.1%. When using defined categories, defined items, like the U.S. Census Bureau does not assign some of the social values that we may work on. It's binary, male or female. It's one or the other. Your age, if you are 6 years old, you belong to this category. If you are 10 years old, you do not. So they have these rigid rules that allow you to connect in there. So understanding the value of this, why this is so accurate, why it is so important as a free data source. A lot of algorithms that you're going to pay for proprietary current data, they're making assumptions. And if you don't need really up-to-date information, data that's, within a day old, then using something that's a year, 2 years old, or a series of them to establish a trend is actually quite valuable, especially because it has no cost. All right, so we talked about the estimate. This is your end value, your margin of error plus or minus. Now the percent column is really the percent of the broken up category. So for total population, 48.5% is male and 51.5% is female. So that's already established. You could take 23, we could do that right now, right? So we could test that. We could say 2,300, 41,093, and we could divide that by the total population here, 4,830,620. Just double checking my numbers here, and hit enter, and we end up with around 48.46, or rounding off to about 48.5%. For those of you who are sticklers on technicalities, we would multiply this by 100% to get the 48.5. Okay. Now, in this category here, for the age breakdown, you can actually see the percentage assigned to that particular group. And we could take this 220,721 divided by the total population and manage to come up with approximately 4.6%. Okay. Again, the confidence interval here, how accurate that is. At this point, it's really a matter of, now that we've verified our data, took a look at how accurate it is, now it's really about acquiring it. And that's what we're going to do. Up here, let's see, there is an option to just download this table. It's very tempting to do this, and if you do it, great, you're going to have a whole mess to clean up. What we'll do is we'll actually modify this table. And the reason is because we want to excuse me, set this up in a manner that we can use for other workflows. Cleaning data, it's actually simpler to download multiple times. Again, you're welcome to test it out, but for the sake of educational purposes or strategy purposes, in the time that we have, I just really encourage you to modify this table before you download it. So select Modify the Table, and we're going to actually set more filters. Now these filters, or the filter we're going to work on right here, this filter here actually works along this row. Okay? Most of the time when you see it, it's working downward, but we're actually looking across here. So let's hit select. We're going to filter it, and we're going to tell the table what it is that we want. Whatever you select is what will be left over. All right, so if we were to select estimate and margin of error, we could select OK, and that's all that would be left right here, estimate and margin of error. Truthfully, what we really want is just the estimate, right? We're not doing any type of analysis of statistics. We're just doing the estimate, and we're going to work with that. So we'll select OK. Now, what's very clean about this, what's very easy, is that for the one state of Alabama, we have one number associated with that. So we have one number for population, we have one number for male, one number for female, and even as we come down, if we're doing some form of ethnic association or racial background, we have one value for that. And uh, when we go through the data cleaning process, it'll become very evident that it's just very easy. If you were to download it without doing these filters, it would become quite cumbersome. Um, However, if you're very clever at manipulating that, I'm very open to, uh, if you have a suggestion on how to do this faster, send me an email with your steps and we'll work it out, and we'll upload a new video with your strategy, and we'll even give you credit for that. But until then, this is really the best way to go about doing it. So we're going to download this data set because we have one number for one state. You'll notice here's our District of Columbia. Before we do that, I would like to draw your attention to the look of this page. You're going to see this again pretty quickly, but the page has this text, although the American Community Survey, ACS produces, etc., etc., etc. Just kind of put a mental note in your head about that, because we'll talk about that in a later step, a later video. We're going to select download, and there's two different ways to do this. This will actually produce multiple sheets where you'll have to, or multiple files where you'll have to kind of reference one to the other. One will be like an answer key that says, well, if you want male, it's going to be this code in the other file. And I found in the past that this doesn't work very well for most students. If you're doing programming or something like that, it's a little more advanced, then this may be a strategy, but history has kind of shown that using an Excel spreadsheet and doing some cleanup is the way to go. So the second one we're going to use is view the data as a presentable document. I know it's a little bit confusing here, but we're actually going to select Microsoft Excel. So mentally cue yourself into that you're looking for that Microsoft Excel. All right, so that's how we're going to analyze it. Select OK. At this point, you might want to double check your pop-up filters, because this is a pop-up, and if nothing happens, then up in the corner up here, you may find a notice saying, hey, something tried to pop up here. Maybe it's a circle with a red line through it, or it might be a padlock. Some sort of indicator up there. You want to accept pop-ups from this website, just period. That's my recommendation. Of course, if you're a little more sensitive to security and pop-ups, do as you see fit, but this one's really going to need to be accessible, because there's no other way to do it. So we'll select download. Oh, here's my pop-up blocked. So I'm going to select that one, and I'm going to say always allow. Again, that's your call, whatever it is that you would like to do. And I'm just going to hit download again. I'm going to select view. I'm looking for that Microsoft Excel sheet. Click OK. And this part here, I have mixed results. Sometimes it'll look like it's doing it forever, but it's ready to go. If it doesn't work, just cancel it and redo it. It also doesn't hurt to hit download and see what shows up. So here is my new table. We're going to transition into Excel at this point. Um, there will be one more video, just like a quick run through, doing the whole thing at once, maybe since you've been exposed to each piece with a little more explanation, a little more in detail. It's not as exciting to you, or maybe not really necessary. Um, but we're going to move to Excel here after that summary video. And you're going to want to have that Excel file saved. And then you're going to want to make a copy of it and save it again. Maybe some sort of test name or whatnot. We'll cover that. I'll remind you when we get started in that next video. But as far as American Fact Finder is concerned, we have successfully extracted demographic data from the 2015 year. And you can repeat this with any number of years, or whichever year that you wish, actually. And that will become critical as we come to the exam, because you'll be given a specific year that you'll need to utilize.